what I, in my design thinking and innovation class, always try to do is to put myself in kind of the student's shoes, and to think about, what makes you engaged with a certain topic, like what is interesting, what would be interesting for them. That's the first thing, to like see it from their perspective. I think one point I always include in every session is some like up-to-date relevant content, something research, something from any institution, any news I found. So to engage with students with things that are new, that are relevant to the overall topic. And another thing, I try to make it quite tangible, to give examples, to also discuss with them, to engage with them. I think that's very helpful. Sometimes it helps to give them just a little nudge and then see what's happening, if you open that discussion to more people. A bigger change, that interesting. So I think that purpose-driven is the most important thing for an institution to be, kind of. So we have, different kinds of learners, different topics, and all those different people and different topics need different spaces, to serve the right purpose. So I think that, only having those very like frontal courses where one person is talking all of the time is not very helpful. Within organizations, it can be maybe for parts of the sessions, but I don't think that for an entire session it's helpful if there's only like one person, being in Japan, you would say the sensei, the overall professor, like having all the knowledge and giving it to the others, like open that room a bit more. And I think we are living in a time where you should include digital learning options, if it serves that purpose, because all of us, in our like daily life, in our working life, are using those digital options, and I think they should be part of, learning in an institution like in a university as well. Just a simple thing we are also using within the program, something like Miro. I think it's very helpful if everyone can engage at the same time on a digital board, like also put some, and you can really share it with everyone, kind of. And I think that's very helpful to include. This is just a tool example. It can be also other methods, but I think it's helpful. And we have that AI here writing down some of them to use them in a good way that serves the purpose.
So true. Yeah. What would be a great innovation in the classroom?
Hard to say that, like, it's for
Asking a design
everyone a
thinker.
great. Yeah. You have to start with the problem. Yeah. So it depends what you need. And it depends, I think, what students need, to then stand out in the job market or have a good profile, so they can, get jobs, also get some experience, for example. I think it's very helpful if they also go in a university setting out of their comfort zone. For example, what I try to implement in my classes is like real world challenges, where people have to get out and have to talk to different people to, understand what the problems are about, to then come up with a solution. So I think a great innovation for the classroom would be to open that classroom, to not like keep it in a physical room, but open it to the real world.
Yeah. Yeah. Another question that is I5 related is that interests me, like, did the I5 framework support you in somehow, like in your preparing your classes, or with your education and you as an educator?
What I did for my last course in last summer semester was I looked into there was one book where there were examples what other I5 educators did. Yeah, I collected, I think I used one of them. And what I did as well was using the Leap Researchers program, one of the icebreakers we did with the colors. I don't know if you remember, like, think about the color. How do you feel now? What does it do to you? And I did that with my students as well. And I also got the feedback that my class was quite different from other classes they were doing. Because, yeah, I think overall, not many educators right now feel confident to try those things because you never know what happens, like how will the students respond, especially in a digital setting. It's kind of a risk, and I think like there are always some people who just think like, oh, she's crazy, but then there's the other ones that really, yeah, get something out of it, and I think for them it's worth doing it, and maybe the others, yeah, will find someday something in those yeah, little tasks as well and can benefit from them. Because I think we need to move to a new direction, and by just like, so we as educated, but also the students need to like learn how to implement other techniques and yeah, feel more open to also when someone is opening in a discussion room, it might be hard in the beginning to then raise your hand and say something in front of everyone that might be a bit deeper to some extent than you usually talk about in class than other things.
So you think it's also a lot about opening a safe space for the students so they feel comfortable sharing and engaging? I hear in that.
Definitely. Yeah, and yeah, there it comes definitely to the educator to open that space, because by you, how you respond, like after opening for the first time that space, has a lot of impact, I would say, how the upcoming discussions will be. Like, are you encouraging um, people to do that? Yeah, is a relationship there between the educator and the student.
Another question that I have in mind is it's nothing we have sent you, but we had an interview with Saloni, and she was talking a lot about theater. So she applies theater a lot in her classroom, which I think is very courageous. So like thinking of all the methods or creative methods that you can apply, I think that was like, wow. Like I mean, it's also India, it's a certain context, right? So it's also cultural, you know, what you can try with your students and whatnot. What is your opinion? Like, is that something you would try out?
So since my classes are only digital, I'm facing some hurdles I did not face before. It was a hybrid model in class. When you talked about theater, one of the prototypes you can do in design thinking is also a role play. And a role play is always very beneficial for people to like first understand what's going on, what are we talking about, and to really get to the core, because you can't draw like tons of things. You have to come up with like one short episode of a role play. But I realized that in a digital space, it can be really hard for students to play a role play just via Zoom. So yeah, this is something that definitely works better in an yeah, personal class environment, I would say. And even then, it's very courageous if students try to stand up in front of the class and do their little role play in front of everyone. which happened in the past and which was just great. Like people laughed, and it gives the entire class so much energy compared to a prototype where people were just drawing a few things. So I think it's very beneficial for the class if even if only like one group or one part of the class has the courage to try out something completely new, because then it also helps others to like move a bit towards that direction. But there it comes to some hurdles based on my experience in digital rooms.
Yeah.
So there's how can we make learning joyful, meaningful, interactive, engaging, iterative? Which one of the five do you think you wouldn't sacrifice? Which one is the one that is most speaks to your heart in your classroom?
Yeah, the first thing, so when I did my first iPrime workshop, I had to pick one of the five to do a deep dive with. And the first one that was speaking to me is joy. Also, I think like the color yellow is something I don't know, like it works together, like joy, yellow, that was speaking to me. And I think we often underestimate how big the impact of joy can be. Especially, I think could be also a cultural thing. When I think about Germany and also Japan, I would say is also towards that direction. That yeah, you work hard and you do your things and you have your timelines and all of it. And sometimes, yeah, in our working life and also in university, joy is not a priority, even though with joy, I think lots of things will come easier. Because, yeah, as a child, currently reading a few child books. So for children, playing is work. Like this is how they start to get new competencies, to learn something. So by growing up, joy and playing is so important for our overall development. And at some point, yeah, some institutions in our society don't put that much focus on joy anymore, even though joy can help us to learn even better, I guess.
Absolutely. When learning is fun, we learn best. And
yeah,
something had come up in my right. You're part of the Wednesday cohort, but the Thursday cohort, the next day of the May session, we had Natasha Radcliffe and Laura Steele from Prime UK. And Natasha was saying how, yeah, in all of her years as a professor, joy was something that was so rejected in the UK as well. And she was saying, and I quote her here, joy is not an unserious matter. It's actually very serious work. And yeah, I can see that. I can see that you're infusing joy into what you do and what you're saying. And we need more of that. So, and it's contagious, right? So the more joyful we are, the more we can spread it out and the better learning we can get as well.
Yeah, definitely. I agree here with Natasha. She's great. She was part of the first i5 Prime workshop I did.
Yes.
In person in Lisbon. So yeah, it was really great to also see how the teachers with the different personalities could like really infuse you with yeah, their view on the i5 Prime work and those specific parts of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And now if we move on to the LEAP research program specifically, what does sustainability leadership look like to you?
To me, it's more about a holistic view, I would say, a holistic view on things. So, yeah, me and my research is not focused on just ecology and that part of sustainability, and more towards the people's perspective. And I think, yeah, for me, sustainability or sustainability leadership is something where you, yeah, include people's ideas to then start a transformation together. So I think the people's perspective is something, yeah, that really speaks to me when it comes to sustainable leadership. If we don't have good leadership, everyone would go to different directions, and without a plan, I don't think yeah, a sustainable transformation would ever happen. So we need good leaders to yeah, go together towards the right direction. Because if there was no leadership, I guess nothing would happen. Or worst case, people start doing things in a completely uncoordinated way, and yeah, here and there a good idea pops up, but it's gonna be destroyed at some point because there's, yeah, not a drive towards one direction. And I think with the research that's already out there, we know so many things about how we could do things, or what lacks at the moment, and then putting it to action is the crucial part, and it's the hardest part. And for that part, you need leadership. I think there's yeah, many points of view, so lots of different people having different ideas, interests, and also when I look at certain parts in the world, at several countries where you have kind of divided populations, if you can say it like that, it can be quite hard to yeah, follow as a whole, because we, like, the entire world needs to transform as a whole towards one direction. I think there's so many, yeah, sometimes also egocentric views on things, because yeah, things will change, things have to change. We can't continue like that. And yeah, we need a good leadership everywhere in the world, and like working together to achieve yeah, sustainability goals.
And what role do you think that academics and teachers have in creating this more sustainable and just future?
I think that should play a big role. As I previously said, there's already so much research out there regarding what we're doing to our climate, what we're doing, yeah, to nature. And now we need the people, also from academics and also the students, to move towards that direction and come up with good ideas, smart ideas, to encourage people that this is the right path to go, and that we, even though it might look hard from the beginning because it's nothing we ever did before, it's completely new. And so I understand that lots of people are afraid that lots of things might change, and change, yeah, can be sometimes really hard. I get that. So I think we need academics and teachers to yeah, open those new ways of thinking, creating new methods, and also, yeah, helping people to understand what we're talking about here, and then make it, yeah, put it into action, I would say.
If we go into your journey of the program, what made it stood out for you? How has it supported you on your journey? And like, why would you recommend it for emerging leaders?
So I said previously that I'm very interested in the people's perspective, and the Lead Researchers program was great for me because I could connect with people from all over the world, like also people who come from a different country, live then in another country, and also have like a variety of perspectives and some cultural knowledge, because I think culture is something that's going to be very important in that sustainability transformation. Because we are the same, but we are at the same time different. And to reach everyone, we have to have those different perspectives. And then the program helps me to then discuss. It was very interesting. We had one discussion where I felt like, we're talking about the same thing, but at the same time, we're talking about completely different things, just because we are from different countries, but because each and every one of us knew that the other people in our like digital meeting room, from the core, what they are, like what they think, what their core values are, we aren't going towards the same direction. So even though we in the beginning talked about the same thing, but not the same thing, we were then able to create a great project out of it, because we really wanted to understand the other person and to collaborate. And I think the program gives you a really good room to connect with people from all over the world, different cultures, different perspectives, and go into those types of discussions to then create projects together. I knew everyone who's part of this program has more or less the same view. You can't say view on things, but like core values. I would go deeper there, because every one of us is interested in sustainability, sees that there are issues, that there are problems in this world that we have to solve regarding sustainability. And even though challenges might look different in different parts of the world and from different perspectives, in the end, the overall thing that we want to change together is the same. And just because I knew the people in the room were part of this program from the beginning, I knew, okay, we're going towards the more or less same big goal, even though we are different individuals with different backgrounds and ideas. I'm a business student, and I started in banking, so in quite a traditional sector, I would say. And then I moved from like just the banking part towards innovation, towards communication, towards design thinking. And in my group, there's like engineers, more looking more into the social parts of it, another one looking at from a business perspective, but from a different business perspective. So I would say this is like different people, different backgrounds, but everyone brings something to the table. They can, don't want to say teach the others, but they can give to the others. And also by discussing, we can receive new points of view. Should I just start, or?
Yes, whenever you're ready. I can also do 3, 2, 1, action.
Okay. Okay. My name is Vera Betz. I'm a PhD student currently based in Tokyo in Japan. And what I like about the Leap Researchers program is that you can connect with other research from all over the world and create great projects together. Especially coming from a culture that is very like low context, very direct. It's always interesting to talk to people who come from a more high context background. Which is very interesting to me here in Japan, for example, because people are so high context, like they look for every little cue and what you're saying, how you say it, what is your current situation. And I think this is, as you just said, making us as persons, as people, and the society in a whole so much better. For sure. engineering, usability engineering students. So not with a business background, which is quite interesting. And most like in the beginning, there were lots of really like engineers, but I'm doing that several years now, and it became more and more diverse. Like you also have people from a psychology background, for example, in there, which is quite interesting because they have a completely different view on sustainability, on usability than someone who's from an engineering background, but both like fit in that specific program, which makes it quite interesting. Because you always like I always have some group works in class, and I try to make them as diverse as possible. And for example, in one of the years, like the group who performed best in the end was the group who had the most struggle within those, especially beginning weeks, I would say, because they basically could not talk to each other. I felt like one person was saying one thing, one person the other. They had completely different languages when it came to what they were talking about. But in the end, they were able to like use each of the different strengths to then come up with a really good idea. But it was hard for them. And this is also maybe while people try to avoid those like very diverse settings, because it's so much more new things to handle. Like you have people with of course, different background when it came to what they were doing previously, like in their bachelor's or for working or for whatever, plus different cultural background, plus different age sometimes. So you have people like beginning of their 20s, end of their 20s, maybe even beginning of their 30s. So they have really different experiences. And it's harder, for sure, it's harder. But in the end, the result is at least sometimes better. So it's worth it, I would say.
That's interesting. Yeah. How did you support the students to find like common understanding, or how did they gain it in the end, like communicating and understanding each other and making use of their different strengths?
So since it is within design thinking, one of the first things is that you get the challenge, and then with that like more or less generic challenge, you try to do by doing a synthesis your own challenge. Like what is the challenge for your group? And I let them discuss about each and every word, with not each and every word, but like the main words in the challenge. So there they just in the beginning they just collect words, and they can already see like psychologists might collect different types of words for create than engineers do. And when they then have to discuss about what it means to them, like what do they want to create, and they have to then pick another word for it they want to focus on, then you start with like talking about those language things, especially in the beginning, to then see, okay, what are we actually talking about? Like what challenge do we want to solve? So I start with like those smaller things, I would say. People always tend to want to quit or like get over with quite quickly, because they say, oh, to me it's clear, like we don't have to discuss that. But you actually have to discuss that, because if you have 4 people and it's clear to everyone and everyone has a different perspective on it, it's not clear at all. And you might run into completely different directions if you do not discuss what it actually means to you.
So do you agree with Otto Scharmer that listening is the most underrated leadership skill?
Definitely. Yeah, listening is so important. And also, I think projects will be better if you listen more, because then you also understand what the other person wants, and that gives you a much better position to then go with your group, with your project in the right direction, because you understand what each and everyone wants. This is also, I think, one of the negotiation practices that is really important, to really listen and understand what the person wants. And I think this is also something that will become is becoming and will become more and more important. As I previously said, like you kind of have those more and more divided populations if you look at like media articles. So I think listening to each other, you can solve like half of the problems by just listening properly, and then talking a bit about it. Yep.